line. She is Pastor Jacquelyn Steele Queen. Come on in, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I mean, I want them to just keep sending. I'm going to take a moment because I want them to send hearts and show some love, because those of you who don't quite know who you are just yet, by the time our conversation is over, they will. But let me just tell you a little bit. Those of you who don't know her and have never heard of Steele, if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, you've not heard of the Steele family, let me just say this. You must be living under a rock somewhere, because if Atlanta has the Pace family, Detroit has the Winans family and the Clark sisters, then the Washington, D.C. area has the Steele family. I mean, they are royalty. They really are royalty here in this area. And so, my friend, Pastor Jacquelyn, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. Y'all, that's right. Show some love. I want to see the hearts and the love and all of that. Pastor Jackie, it's going up. There's and hearts and smiley faces and all of that stuff. We love you. We love your family. You guys are highly regarded, highly respected, and I'm honored that you would take the time to be here with me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. The day was a little busy today. We had to minister sing for a homegoing service. And so we got out and did that and made sure I wore my mask in and sang and put the mask back on. And the preacher preached up something. So we were busy, came home and took a little nap to get ready for tonight. And we were part of 2 services yesterday. So, but it's a good time. We working on the building.
We're working on the building. And you know, I should have told you that she's a pastor. She's a vocalist, an amazing vocalist, an outstanding pastor. She's also an actress and a comedian. So I'm thankful that you're here. But let me ask this before we move on as well. How's the rest of your family handling it in the midst of this quarantine? How's the rest of your family doing?
The rest of my family is doing well. It's 8 of us. And what we try to do is every Tuesday, we try to get on Zoom together. And so we're all just, talking together. Somebody will pray and somebody will do a devotional song, and then we'll just talk and check on each other, check on each other's kids, and talk about mom and and anyone else that's not well in the family. We've lost some people, not to the coronavirus, but to my cousin lost her husband and some other things. So we've been talking about that and praying about that. So the family's doing well. My daughters are doing well. They are working at home.
Yeah, like the rest of the world.
Yeah, one of us is a school teacher, and so she's still working at home.
Speaking of mom, and I think I always share this with you because it just blows my mind that years ago, it was your mother and your sister Sheila teaching at the Washington School for Secretaries. I was on staff as the permanent substitute. What a title that was. On staff as the permanent substitute, and I had the pleasure of teaching your mother and your sister Sheila.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing.
What a crazy world.
Right.
Yeah.
Mama decided after everybody was grown that she was going back to school. She left high school early back in that day to help get her brothers and them ready for work. And so Mama decided after 8 of us and a couple of grandchildren that she was going back to school. And we were so proud of her. And so then my sister Sheila wanted to update some of her skills. So they went to school together. And they were not far from where I worked at the time. I was a manager of a big, really expensive, exclusive shoe store down by the White House. So she wasn't far. So she would come and visit me almost every Thursday. Was it Thursday? I don't know.
That's right. That's right.
So we were so proud of Mom when she graduated. I'm like, Mom.
I remember. I absolutely remember. I remember. You know, what I want to do here, we're going to talk about, Pastor Jackie, you and I have already chit-chatted about it very briefly, but as the audience members and the virtual book club members are listening in, then we're going to talk about some of these lessons. We're going to talk about some of these lessons, and we'll let them listen in and chime in. We'll see what they have to say about it, but we've invited them to just what I call join the conversation.
Okay.
And as you know, we chatted about these lessons early today, but what I want to do is just read from the book some of the lessons that are showing up. And I'll let you know now, one of our dear friends, Mom Rosie Johnson, is watching. She's on tonight.
Oh, that is my friend. I've known Miss Rosie since I've been about 14, when I belonged to Christian Tabernacle years ago. Okay. Hi,
yeah, So I know we have that connection, and she is on. But I want to start with lesson 25 that says, control your children and your animals. And it says, if you choose to have children or own animals, respect the fact that everyone will not share the same affinity as you. Don't assume that it's okay to take your animals to and inside other people's vehicles or homes. One would not think that your child is cute enough to put his shoes on their furniture, interrupt their conversations, waste their food, roam around their homes, break their collectibles, their toilets, write on their walls, or just be disrespectful. And don't assume that it's okay to take your children to your workplace. Don't let your children or your animals be the byproduct of, and this is what the author said, don't let them be the byproduct of his poor parenting. I hope I can say that and not get in trouble.
No, you can say it and not get in trouble.
Okay. But you know what, Pastor Jackie, this lesson is about really recognizing the differences in people. Some people like animals, some don't. Some people like having kids running around and some don't. And it also talks about the ability to see the world through more than just one lens. Not everybody is going to love animals, and we can't assume that everybody likes children or they'll find children as adorable as somebody else do.
Right.
Do you like animals? I'm curious.
Absolutely not. No, sir, not at all. And I'm in trouble in my house because they all like animals. But we voted and I won. I won 1 out of 3 that we would that we would have. Now, my husband is a lover of a German Shepherd. He has always wanted one. But I told him, sweetie, we can't live together like that. You know, you want the German Shepherd and the Lord is my shepherd.
I'm sure he didn't have a comeback for that, did he?
No, he didn't. He just shook his head and walked away and said he could live in the backyard. But I also don't want to be cruel to animals, so I wouldn't have one and not let it in the house. But you know, I got a stuffed animal upstairs, and that one is fine. It's obedient. I don't have to feed it or nothing.
And you don't have to spend much money on it, right?
Thank you, kind Father.
That's right. But that is funny. But speaking of being able to see the world through a different lens, sometimes we are attracted to people, and we draw people who are like us, and sometimes we draw people who are different from us. I'm just wondering, for you, would you say that the majority of your friends are like you or different from you?
Oh, I would probably have to say half and half.
Okay.
I have to say half and half. I have some dear friends who are prayer warriors, and I can just send one word or a short text, and they will begin to pray for me, and lift me up and hold me up. And then I have some friends that I'm on the phone with, especially my girlfriend from California, that all we do is laugh. She is just like me, and so we laugh. But I just have to say half and half.
Half and half.
But then I got those spiritual friends that I need.
Yeah. How did you? And I know we didn't chat about this, but in terms of friends or the kinds of friends that you need in a moment, isn't it wonderful that friends can know what to give or what to pour out in a given moment?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. There's some of them that can have a best friend, my BFF, that's a new word for it, named Lisa, and she can just feel me. She can feel when I'm upset or something's going on, and she'll just send a text and say, Queen, it's going to be all right in the morning. And then I'll send her one back and said, I need to be all right tonight. And so then she'll start laughing. But I have some that feel me, and then some that I just feel, that I just call. That I lost my oldest daughter, Erica, to an aneurysm on her brain. And the Lord saw fit to take her home from there. And I've learned to be friends to mothers who have lost children. That's a dear ministry that the Lord ended up, turning into a ministry. And we call it From Mourning, where you mourn, to Mourning, to the next day morning, letting them know that God can strengthen you through this. And you don't have to be what the statistics say. They say that 70% of us will be alcoholics or on crack or on drugs or on medicine, man-made medicine or whatever you can get on the street. But I say to them that God can still lift you up. There are 9 or 8 different steps of grief. And thank God for my pastor and Bishop John I. Little, who majored in that in school. He has 2 doctorates and a multiplicity of masters. But I tell them that you got to befriend people, and you got to understand where they are. I hope I'm not moving off the question.
No, you're not, because, and you know, you and I can do this forever, but one of the beautiful things about having friends who see through different lenses, I often say, and you mentioned earlier this whole notion of BFFs, but you know what I've said, Pastor Jackie, one of the things that I don't just want BFFs, but I want BFWP, best friends who pray.
Oh, wow.
And they know when to do that.
Yeah.
And they know when to pour, how much to pour, and when to stop pouring.
Oh my, I'm gonna have to mail you an offering for that.
Right. but it's true, right? It's one thing when you call them, you want friends who see through your lens at the moment.
That's right.
You need them to see through your lens at the moment.
That's right.
We could definitely talk about that. And no, you're right on point in terms of the diversity of friends. And it's a beautiful thing to have different perspectives, just to have those different perspectives. I want to ask your perspective of something that's probably a little sensitive to some people.
Okay.
Children and animals. How do you react? And I know that you have 7 siblings, so it's 8 of you all, and you were probably raised in a way that I could almost guess, but how do you react when you see children throwing tantrums out in public?
Ooh, I just start praying on the inside that the Lord will anoint my intellect so I'll be wise in what not to say and what to say. I was in JCPenney some years ago. This story came in my mind. And this woman was there, and the baby, she had to be about 4. And so she wanted this dressed up clutch. It was oh God, we used to call it crushed velvet. You know, I'm old. Crushed velvet with stones on it. And every time her mama said no, she took another piece of clothes off. I'm looking over saying, Holy Ghost, help me give me the mind your business ministry. So then her mama said, no, I'm not going to buy it. She was like, ah! She took some more clothes. The girl had finally got down to her underwear, because that's what, and I'm sitting over there looking, I'm like, oh my, and I'm thinking, Lord, what am I going to say? What should I say? Well, the lady that was behind the counter finally came around there. She said, let me tell you something, little girl, you better put your clothes on and get yourself together before I wear you out. And I was like, Lord, that's what I didn't want to do. And that's what probably need to be done. And the lady just looked, the girl started putting her clothes on. The mother was so overwhelmed that she heard, you know what I mean, that she would hear this stranger and do it. But kept every time she told her no. Because, you know, I was raised up in a different age. It was 8 of us. And we'd be in church and my mama just looked one time like this. And all of us would sit up like soldiers.
How did she look? How did she look, Jackie? How did she look?
And what I did know is that after you eat dinner from church, you got something coming to you, and you're probably not going to go skating. Well, listen, we went to church, and my father taught us how to skate. And I literally thought, you know, younger, we were going to skate into heaven. That's how we were going to get there. But she would look at us once. You know, it's a different day now. They want to give them Cheetos and a bag of candy and this, and Sally be good and Jane be good. My mama would blink her eyes, and so I only had to blink at mine a couple times. And, you know, but we got to be careful, because oftentimes I say they're home with their games and their toys. And then you let them come to church and they sit there in the whole service. All they're doing is playing a game. So they haven't heard anything. They haven't, you know what I mean? They don't recognize the authority of the church and the love of the church, because they're still playing games and doing what they do at home.
Yeah,
so I think we got to be careful.
No, I like that. I love that response. We have to be careful. And it's interesting in terms of mirroring what happens at home. It's a matter then of saying the church is not quite home. And, and you and I chatted about this. We can't look at the children and hold them accountable.
That's right.
It's a matter of us teaching. So whether we're parents or uncles or aunties, we have to pour that into them. We have to teach them that, because they will never learn.
That's right. That's right.
We never learn unless we teach it. But I have another question for you, though, because I know that we can be different. And I often say we can be different and unique, but we can still unite even though we're unique. And one of the things that a few of the young people said last week was what I call the millennial takeover on the show. And some of the young people said that in terms of being different and unique, that's what they want. That's what they expect. They want us to be unique. They want us to be different. And I walked away from the conversation with this whole notion of inspiration doesn't mean assimilation. I can be inspired by you, but I don't have to assimilate into who you are. I can be my own person. I can be my own self. So this whole notion of everybody doesn't, it's a funny lesson, animals, but the undertone is that allow people to be unique, allow them to be themselves and authentic. And so that's what that lesson is. I want to get to lesson 26, but before I do, since we're talking about lessons for the next generation, I'm curious, what are some of the most important lessons that you've learned from the generations before you?
Oh, wow. I've learned, and this is probably a repetitious thing, to stay in a child's place. My mom would teach us to, when she had company over, we would speak to everybody and stuff, but she did not let us just sit right up under her on the chair and listen to all of their important church stuff. And everybody would be obedient more than likely but me. And then because I'd be sitting on the steps trying to listen because I wanted to know what to pray for.
Right. Even as a child, wait a minute. Did you really want to know what to pray for or just to know what they were talking about?
I wanted to know what they were talking about. Pray about it, right? But my mom would look at me and say, take your nosy self upstairs because ain't nobody talking to you. Well, this is what I did, Pastor. I shouldn't have done this, but I wasn't getting all the attention that I needed. And years ago, I used to put the pork and bean cans in the freezer, and you get that real thin ice around it that you'd eat. So this is what I did. Mama was having Bible study, some ladies were talking. So I went and got that ice, and it looked like glass. And then, you know, the actress that I am, I poured ketchup all over my arm. And so I made it look like I had been cut and I was bleeding. And so I went in there to Bible study. I said, oh, God, Mama, I'm bleeding. I need y'all to pray. When I tell you the saints went in for me, they went in for me, and the closer my mama got, the more she smelled the ketchup. The ketchup, she slapped me. It was Friday. I woke up, it was Sunday school. She said, you don't pray in Bible study. I told you, no gross.
Wait a minute. She slapped you from Friday into Sunday.
Into Sunday, I rose on Sunday.
Like Jesus at the resurrection.
Yes, sir.
I'm with you.
We need to be in a kid's place.
Listen, you all, I'm telling you, preacher par excellence, but comedian who could do a stand-up routine all on her own. I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Oh, bless you, sir.
I want to go to lesson 26 just for a moment. And lesson 26 is, I think it's one of those heavy lessons, but it says think before you act. It's before you act. Don't be so quick to condone or to condemn, to lead, to follow, to volunteer, or to recruit. Execute your actions cautiously, deliberately, and precisely. I believe that a wise person thinks before speaking, but I believe that an even wiser person thinks and rethinks before acting. And this one is about, as you know, this one is about learning to be an individual who thinks for him or herself and not blindly following people. And it's about self-control and knowing how to bridle our tongue, because once you say something, you can't take it back. And we had the conversation earlier, when you ring the bell, I don't care how many times you apologize, you can't ring it. And for as much as I try to be like Christ, I still hear the bells in my ears. And you know what, Pastor Jackie, even from 50 years ago, there's some hurts that I might still hear ringing inside of my head, because you know people can say some piercing stuff, and then they expect you to function like normal.
Right.
And so what is your response to people who would then say, oh, you should just get over it?
I think just get over it is probably one of the meanest statements that you can make, because a lot of times the people that are telling you you should get over it, more than likely they've never been through what you're going through. It's insensitive to tell somebody that's going through a divorce, you need to just get over it. He wasn't no good or she wasn't no good. No, you haven't been there. So if you can't offer prayer, then you need to take the class. This class, I often say, the Bible says, study to be quiet.
Right.
Go to a quiet university and shut your mouth because you don't know what's happening to them. Pray for them. Talk, you know what I mean? Talk to them, and because you might not ever go through that, but to tell them to get over it. Or one preacher friend of mine said to me when she found out I lost my daughter and I finally got back to church, she said to me, well, I just want you to know that I wasn't one of the ones that was praying for you. And I went, huh? She said, no, because I knew you were going to be all right. I knew that you had something on the inside that working on the outside. And she really thought she was saying something so awesome. And I said to her, I said, girl, I needed your prayers, and I still do. And I don't know why that still rings in my head sometimes, because it felt like she thought she was building herself up and then building me up, and it was just so insensitive. I said, I'm gonna need your prayers for a long time. This is a place that I pray nobody that I know ever goes to. Yeah, David said it like this: God, you brought me up out of a horrible
pit. Yes.
A horrible pit. You know, a pit is deep. And then sometimes you feel like you're going up out the pit and you slide right back down on your fingers down. And yes, God is with you, but he got to bring you up and out. And so you need to pray for me while I'm down and out, and then while I'm coming out, you know, because sorry, you know, and so we got to care what we say. We got to care what we saying. And, you know, some say, well, I know you ain't going to sing no more. I know you're not going to direct the choir no more. I know you're not going to preach. I said, well, you know, I'm going to do those things eventually. God's going to give me strength. But right now, I need your prayers. And what you're saying out of your mouth is insensitive.
It is insensitive. And you don't have the right to say that.
Oh.
A lot of people say things that they don't have the right to say. But I want to jump back to coming out of that pit. You know, a lot of times we get out of the pit and we get out of the muck. And
you hear me?
But we still got the residue of the clay stuck to us. And so even though I'm in the pit, I still need your prayers.
I need your prayers.
Outside of the pit, but I need your prayers in the moment. And one of the interesting things about what you said was that she thought she was doing something, and she thought she was exalting herself and doing that. And people, when they say those things, you know what one of my mantras is, Pastor Jackie? My mantra is, when you say those things that pierce me, I'll get beyond them. I don't have to live there, but I have the right to leave you there.
Oh my, that'll preach and that'll work.
I got the right to leave you there because what you said, what you did, it wasn't right. And you know what? And I know that you worked at a law firm for many years.
Yes, sir.
These young people, because this is for the next generation. Y'all stop thinking that you have the right to say anything and everything that you want to say.
There you go.
There is a legal action called slander. As you
go.
Your mouth.
Watch what you say.
Yeah,
watch what you say. Be mindful. Be mindful of what you say, because people have feelings. Often, so if you get in an accident going down 295 and then after a while you're better, you heal. When you go back down 295 and get to that place, your heart will beat fast. Because I remember right off of Nanny Helen, we had a major car accident, and every time I get there, I thank God that he's brought me out of it. But I get a little jarred because I remember, you know, all that happened and how that car, the man that just bought a brand new car, ran into the back of us, and all kind of things happened. My daughter's nose was disconnected from her face, and they had to sew it on. And Ebony had maybe 40 or 50 lashes in her teeth, and they can't sew your tongue. So that was a sensitive place that God brought us out of. Instead of you saying, well, what were you doing? Or what would you be quiet.
Be quiet. Or as you said, I love it. Make sure that you enroll in Quiet University.
Quiet University.
Yeah, sometimes, and I think it will serve our next generation so well to know that you don't have the right, nor do you have the responsibility to say everything that comes to your mind. You
That's right.
Or the responsibility, and it's not reasonable or rational. Just be quiet sometimes and enjoy silence. Speaking of the next generation.
Yeah, you have a voice, but you also have a choice.
Now I need to send you an offering.
Well, listen, just do Cash App. It'll get to me quicker. No, I'm just
Cash App. All right, I'll make sure I do that.
I'm just playing, but you have a voice, but you still have a choice of what you say out of your mouth.
Out of your mouth.
Out of your mouth.